be honest now. What comes to mind when you see the title Colombian Hell? I bet it has nothing to do with bicycle touring. Well, then let me introduce you to a new kind of Colombian hell.
Hello and welcome to Bicycle Touring Talk. My name is George Schlackheg. Bicycle touring is my passion and I've done quite a bit of it, months at a time. In this series, I'm sharing the experiences and stories. This is episode 127 and we're in Colombia. Barbara and I traveled here together in early 2019. In the previous video, I told you about a rough ride through mountainous terrain from the town of La Vega to Villeta. It was Barbara's first ever extended tour outside of Canada. Riding with your luggage on your bike is much different from riding without it, and riding in the mountains is challenging, period. Through teamwork, we had made it to Villeta okay. I helped Barbara push her bike up the hills she couldn't handle, which meant that I had to go back and forth riding my bike, then leaning it somewhere to go back and help Barbara again. We both got pretty tired that day, and so we spent an extra day in Villeta. On January 11th, 2019, we were ready to move on. The next town on our map was Guaduas. It's only about 35 kilometers, but that's gonna be plenty because there'd be hills. So we'll see what the highway is like even. It wasn't exactly far, but even just looking at the map, you could tell that there were gonna be challenges. Villeta was in a valley, so more climbing for sure. When we left our hotel that morning, it was raining. It wasn't really heavy, and since the weather was warm, it didn't keep us from leaving early. Temperatures tended to be most comfortable in the early morning hours, plus this strategy made sure we always had enough time to get to some place with basic amenities. I had checked the Google map extensively the previous night and was pretty sure of where we had to turn. All we needed to do was follow the main highway. When we got to a main intersection in town, there was no indication which way we had to turn. I normally like to ask someone for directions in such cases, but this morning was rainy and I still saw the Google map clearly in my mind. My intuition for directions is usually pretty good, so I decided to trust it. Barbara didn't question it at all, so we started climbing our first major hill of the day. It was steep, and already I had to help Barbara push. After doing this for a while, I started having doubts. Why hadn't there been a sign for Guaduas? That intersection we had passed had something odd about it. The further we went, the more this started to bother me. Until finally a man was walking toward us on the shoulder of the road. Disculpe, señor, ¿esta es el camino para Guaduas? He shook his head. Nope. We had to go back down the hill and make a sharp left at the bottom. We had taken the wrong way. It would have led us back to Bogota via a different route. Barbara was coming up a bit behind me, pushing her bike and already looking exhausted. How was I gonna tell her? Thankfully, she was a good sport, but I could see the disappointment in her face. Going down the hill was a matter of 2 minutes, if that. All that hard work for nothing. I felt bad. This wasn't a good start. We had about 900 kilometers to go on this trip, and that was just the first leg to Santa Marta. were we going to reach Guaduas that day? It was still early, so we decided to stop somewhere for breakfast. There was a place right by the road on our side, and they had good food. The sun was up by the time we left, and now it was uphill again. After what turned out to be a relatively short climb, we were at a major traffic circle, which had proper signs.
We just left Villeta, but we just spent a better half of more than, I want to say, half hour going uphill to know that we were going backwards. Not the right way, I mean. So now we just climbed another half-hour hill, and we're at the top of it, and we are going this way to Guaduas. And you can see the truck traffic is enormous here. What we have for this is the space you're going to travel on. It's not bad. Shoulder, and there you go. See what I mean? Yep. Catch you later.
This was great because now we were finally sure to be on the right track. But the excitement didn't last as we now had to start climbing again. You know, when you're in the mountains, you don't see the whole picture ever. The road doesn't go straight up, so what you see is just a stretch up to the next bend. It can lull you into thinking that all you have to do is crawl up that distance and then you'll be okay for a while, perhaps on a flat part or even descending. But this is Colombia, and we were in the Andes Mountains. We started in good spirits, working as a team to get our bikes up the hill.
We're finally out of Villeta and on the correct highway, but truck traffic on the highway has been crazy.
Just this hill, then the next, and another, and another. Turned out to be a long day and probably the most dangerous of any tour that I'd ever experienced. Motorized traffic was heavy and everyone was on a mission to get somewhere fast. No patience at all.
The 35 kilometers that we planned to go today, well, they're going to take us all day. This is a crazy moment. You can see the buses, the cars passing, even though there is a solid double line. There's no passing here, but they do it anyways. We have to be careful, that's all.
We were hoping for a better road, flat terrain, and less traffic the whole way. Eventually, we got various estimates from people we met about how much further we'd have to climb, and it didn't sound good.
Kind of relaxing a little bit. And we're hoping that we're at the peak pretty soon because we've been working real hard.
We wanted to show you some awesome footage of vehicles.
There's one.
Here we go. Smell those brakes. Here comes one. They're just about eating the tires.
So that's what we're dealing with pretty much all day long.
We passed several truck service stations and eventually there was a relatively flat section with more services, among them a hotel. This wasn't Guaduas and we hadn't even reached the peak, but We were gonna run out of daylight and Barbara wanted nothing more than to check into that hotel. So we did. My trip odometer that day showed 17 kilometers, and that included the wrong hill in Villeta. I kept telling myself that it was okay. We had time. But I was also wondering about the road ahead. We had found a decent place that generally caters to the trucking industry. That's a good thing when you're in Colombia. Those places are quite good and affordable. There was a restaurant at the hotel too, run by the same people, and the food was great. After what had seemed like a hopeless pursuit toward the end of the day, we were finally in good hands. After supper it was dark and we went to sleep. We had no internet that night. I fell asleep fast, but Barbara told me about people partying in the restaurant and doors being opened and closed until very late. The next morning we got breakfast at the same place, and again it was good. The lady who served us said that she was from Venezuela and had migrated to Colombia for a better life. Part of her family was still in Venezuela and it wasn't good. The ride that day started out uphill again. But it wasn't very steep now, and after a while it finally started descending. And boy did it ever. The heavy traffic isn't a problem when you're on a touring bike descending. The big trucks can't go down those hills very fast anyway, so you can keep up with traffic quite nicely. It's an amazing feeling, but you'd better be confident your bike, and especially the braking system, is in good shape. In the town of Guaduas, we found a restaurant and had a serious lunch, even if it was technically still a bit early for that. We met a group of Colombian cyclists there who told us they were also going to Santa Marta, pretty much following the same route as us. This really made us feel a bit more confident about our tour again.
So we're in Guadua and we just ate a good breakfast, and now we're going to look for some groceries, and then we're going on La Ruta del Sol, and we're being told it's all flat.
The terrain from here on was supposed to be mostly flat, and the road was more straight and with better shoulders. It was still early in the day and we felt energized. Even though we didn't know how far we could make it that day, we decided to carry on after only one more brief stop at a grocery store. Was this it for the tough part of the journey? I'll tell you about how the day went on when I come back for episode 128. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and tell YouTube by clicking the like button and perhaps watching another video in this series. Suggestions on the screen now. Do I recommend bicycle touring in Colombia? All I can say is, it depends. People cycle in Colombia and drivers are used to seeing cyclists, pedestrians, animals, even on the busiest highways. But that doesn't mean it's safe. I'll see you soon.